Historic floods leave behind devastation that stretches for miles.
It's really a fine thing to see people coming together and helping.
New tonight, the stories of recovery in Central Texas communities.
A flood watch still in effect. I'll track the latest on radar.
If we could go back and do it again, we would evacuate.
The death toll rises across Texas as search and rescue efforts continue tonight. How local, state, and federal officials are working hard to find those still missing.
The president said, Ted, anything Texas needs, the answer is yes. Whatever assets you need, whatever resources you need, yes, let us know.
The death toll just jumped. More than 100 people are dead now after catastrophic flooding in Central Texas. From Kerr County to Williamson and Travis counties. The White House says President Trump will visit the region later this week. Search and rescue efforts are ongoing tonight as dozens are still unaccounted for. Over the next hour, CBS Austin will be showing you the devastation as rescue and recovery missions continue across Central Texas. We have live team coverage for you tonight with the reporters across the region, including a look at the deadly floods in Burnet and Williamson counties. We begin right here in Travis County, though, with CBS Austin's Farrah Walton. And Farrah, the number of people there killed is rising as well. It's currently at 7.
Yes, well, that is the latest number from authorities, as well as 10 missing tonight. I want you to take a look at the pile of debris behind me. These piles can be seen driving throughout the Shady Creek neighborhood with pieces of homes and just trees uprooted all across the area. Now, take a look at this bridge over here. It got shifted, and now it's blocked off to strictly foot traffic. Now, this is the only way in and out of this street. And people here say the cleanup is just beginning. These piles of debris really giving you an idea of just how high the floodwaters got. And it's just hard to look at as people have a long road of recovery ahead of them. The woman I spoke to who lives in the house to my left here says it's been amazing to see the community come together the way it has. Reporting live in Shady Creek, I'm Farrah Walton, CBS Austin News.
Thanks, Farrah. What we're dealing with right now is still flood threat. There's a flood watch in effect for much of our area till 7, so just inside of an hour from that. And a current flash flood warning that is ongoing for Milam County. I have seen a diminishing trend in that activity, but still, do not let your guard down. If you're in Milam County, even though we're not seeing the super heavy rain, we do still have some lighter rain from Cameron to Rockdale, all the way down Highway 77. And that flash flood warning is in effect until 7 p.m. Now, the only good thing about what we're experiencing here in Milam County is you haven't seen the epic amounts of rain that portions of the Hill Country and even Travis and Williamson counties have seen. Instead, this is really the heaviest rain that you've had in recent days. Currently watching 1 to 2 inch, 2.5 inch total, so there could certainly be some issues. Turn around, don't drown if you happen to see water across the road. The rest of our area is advisory free as we await possibility of seeing a little bit more rain. I do think this flood watch will be allowed to expire at 7 o'clock, but I am tracking additional showers and storms tomorrow as well as Wednesday. I'll take you through hour by hour coming up.
As Burnet County Sheriff deputies continue to search for 2 people who are missing tonight, neighborhoods and businesses are starting to try and pick up the pieces after the weekend floods. CBS Austin's Vinny Martirano continues our live team coverage for us tonight, talking with businesses out in Burnet. Vinny, how are they handling this devastation? And it's good to see so many residents and people coming to volunteer and donate.
Yeah, Walt, the community support has been fantastic for everyone in these neighborhoods and businesses trying to, like you said, pick up those pieces. But some businesses I spoke with today say everything inside as well as the building are total losses. Other businesses say they don't know what's in store for the future moving forward. Now, early Saturday morning, multiple feet of water filled Burnet businesses, destroying everything inside. The Knothole is an indoor flea market that has 140 vendors. This morning, they've all had to come to work and remove their merchandise and clear out their booths. Lillian Rogers says her mom's owned the business for over 20 years, and now she doesn't know what comes next.
No, it's just devastating.
I mean, I think just, as Texans stick together and, hopefully we come through this.
She says over 2 feet of water came barreling into the store Saturday morning. Despite the the destruction, she's hoping the building is salvageable and they can reopen in the future. Now, the big question that I've heard over the last 2 days here in Burnet County is what comes next. Coming up at CBS Austin News at 6:30, we'll hear from the Burnet County Emergency Management about the next steps they're taking, trying to rebuild all of the destruction that was caused by this weekend's floods. Reporting live in Burnet, Vinny Martirano, CBS Austin News.
Thank you, Vinny. In Williamson County, search efforts are continuing for a victim of this weekend's flooding. Crews have found 2 people missing since Saturday, but a 3rd person remains unaccounted for tonight. CBS Austin's Betty Cross is live in Williamson County for us. Betty, Liberty Hill, one of the hardest hit areas.
That's right. The San Gabriel River and creeks that feed into it, well, they toppled fences. They were able to knock over this tractor. And if you look across the road, you're going to see the massive force of that water. Well, it was able to completely uproot trees. Liberty Hill was slammed by fast rising and fast moving floodwater that carried farm equipment and cars and trucks downstream. Flooding also took out a stream flow gauge on the San Gabriel River, ripped up roads and damaged bridges. Williamson County has begun assessing damage to try to get a federal disaster declaration that would help pay for repairs. There is also damage at Hope House in Liberty Hill. The nonprofit home provides care for kids with profound disabilities. Early Saturday morning, those kids had to be rescued from rising floodwaters. Now, the children made it out safely, but a woman who lived and worked at Hope House died while waiting for help.
Sherry was the heart and soul. She was like a grandma type figure to our staff. When you came into Hope House, she was the first impression of who we are and what we stand for as an organization.
They also said she was one of the kindest people you would ever meet and how much they're going to miss her. Now, Hope House told us Sherry Richardson was inside a 2-story cabin that sits on the banks of Little Creek. Sherry called 911 for help, but the creek was rising too fast and no one was able to get to her before the house was ripped off its foundation and swept downstream. Now, the search continues tonight for a 3rd person who is missing in the flooding. In Williamson County, Betty Cross, CBS Austin News.
Thank you, Betty. So many pets and wildlife have been displaced as well because of this flooding. The Williamson County Regional Animal Shelter is in urgent need of fosters after learning the Lampasas Animal Shelter has been ordered to evacuate. The shelter is now taking in approximately 60 additional animals. Those interested can go to the shelter and fill out a registration form to be paired with a pet to help ease the overcrowding. The shelter says you can also help by making either funding or item donations and volunteering on site to help with the overflow. Concerns arise about federal cuts and the impact they could have had on the federal response to the deadly floods in Texas. How the White House is responding tonight. We're taking a live look at the White House now, where officials are pushing back on the suggestion that cuts made to the National Weather Service may have impacted the response to the deadly flash flooding. This comes as Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is demanding an investigation into the cuts made by the Department of Government Efficiency. While there has not been any direct evidence linking staffing cuts to the tragedy, Kerr County Judge Rob Kelly said during a press conference on Friday that officials could not have predicted the magnitude of the flood. This afternoon, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt responded to the allegations.
Yeah, I just do think those comments are depraved and despicable, especially when so many Americans are mourning the loss of their children. The National Weather Service, as I said, did its job. We know the National Weather Service provided early and consistent warnings. They gave out timely flash flood alerts. There were record-breaking lead times in the lead up to this catastrophe. There is ongoing flood monitoring, and these offices were well staffed. In fact, one of the offices was actually overstaffed. They had more people than they need. So any claim to the contrary is completely false.
Leavitt says this is a national tragedy, and the Trump administration is treating it as such. Communities in Travis County reeling after devastating floods sweep through central Texas. We'll have another live report from CBS Austin's Farrah Walton here in just a minute. Tonight, Travis County officials say 7 are confirmed dead and several more are missing tonight after deadly flooding swept through northwest Travis County. CBS Austin's Farrah Walton is live in Travis County for us tonight. Farrah, what is the community saying about what they need most right now?
Yeah, Walt, here in the Sandy Creek community, neighbors are picking up the pieces of what used to be their home. Take a look. You can see this house behind me collapsed after the deadly flash flooding over the weekend. And right now, crews are continuing to search for those missing as families hold on to hope.
I woke up around midnight and I was watching the weather on the television and watching for the alerts.
Entire homes getting swept off their foundation, asphalt crumbling on bridges, and cars and trees. These are just some of the sights along Sandy Creek.
When I got here, I couldn't believe it. This is just incredible, the flooding that's gone on here.
Robin Bates says they've had floods before, but nothing like this.
The water started, it was up here, and it started crossing my driveway to where I couldn't drive out of my driveway.
She says when she came back after evacuating, there were 2 houses that had crashed into her home.
There were people trapped in the house.
Bates says one person got thrown out and was holding onto one of these porch pillars, saving her from getting swept away in the floodwaters and down the creek.
I'm just thankful we're alive, and I know it will sink in over time.
Neighbors are now focused on what's next.
As far as the cleanup that goes on around here, they're going to have to bring in some heavy equipment. It could take months.
People have been showing up and saying, how can I help? So it's really a fine thing to see people coming together and helping.
And as the search for those missing still continues and the cleanup begins now, neighbors are checking up on each other and trying to salvage what they can. Now, people we spoke to in this neighborhood today say they're in need of water, boxes, and packing tape to pack up what's left of their belongings, and people on the ground to help here with recovery. Reporting live in Sandy Creek, I'm Farrah Walton, CBS Austin News.
Now, your Storm Tracker weather with Chief Meteorologist Chicago Windler.
On the weather front, I have some encouraging news. The area under a flash flood warning right now in Milam County. The intensity of that rain has started to diminish. So yes, it's still raining. No, those rain rates are not nearly as high as they were, which should mitigate the extent of the flooding there. In Austin, 88, we picked up only 0.03 inches of rain officially. Camp Mabry just a trace at the airport. Cloudy skies made it to a high of 90 degrees. So it was a chance for most of the Austin metro to kind of reset and recover. As mentioned, we do have that flash flood warning. Cameron and Rockdale included along Highway 77, also Highway 79, with diminishing returns here. The flash flood warning in effect until 7 p.m. And here's why. You can see 1 to 2.5 inches of rain fell in pretty quick order, but since then we've really seen improvement. Speaking of improvement, the flood watch that is in effect until 7 o'clock at this point, it appears it will be allowed to expire, as we're not expecting to see another round of extensive rain or flooding through the overnight period, which is great news. Also, within the last hour, we've seen ATX floods drop from 122 roads closed to 106 roads closed. Obviously, if you see water across the road, don't go across it. Turn around, don't drown. More encouraging news. I just checked the latest river gauge at the Lana River at Llano. It appears it has already crested below flood stage. Flood stage is 10 feet. Right now at 8.27 feet. It made it up to 9.3 feet. It's already starting to fall. So soon, I expect that river flood warning will be allowed to expire. That said, the Lana River, the Kingsland Slab, still very dangerous, just not experiencing the extent of flooding that we saw back on July 4th. So, big picture, there are still some showers and storms a little farther down at the south, Round Top, LaGrange, for instance. The outlook as we look ahead through the next 24 hours, more than likely it'll be into tomorrow afternoon when we see a resurgence of additional rain. So, a couple of showers between now and about 9 p.m. After that, the overnight hours looking quiet. And then tomorrow, I'm expecting the bulk of the morning to be dry and quiet. As we look ahead to the noon to evening time frame, we may see some storms develop first along the coast and then push inland toward I-35, the sea breeze shower variety. We see more on Wednesday. If we get locally heavy rain, there could be some minor flooding issues, but overall, it does appear that the worst is over.
Camp Mystic confirms at least 27 campers and counselors have died due to the floods that devastated parts of central Texas. The all-girls summer camp along the Guadalupe River says in a statement, on its website that it's grieving the loss and working with local and state authorities now. They are still looking for 10 campers and 1 counselor who are unaccounted for tonight. Camp Mystic's owner and director was also killed in the flooding while trying to rescue campers. Tonight, we continue to hear from survivors of the deadly flooding in the Texas Hill Country. Matt Roy shares the story of a family whose home was ravaged by the floods in Kerrville and lived to tell the tale.
Well, if you can believe it, on Thursday morning before the flooding happened, this entire area was filled with trees just like this one, these big cypress trees. But after the floodwaters rose over 30 feet, this is what it left in its path. All of them toppled, uprooted, destroyed. And the water came so high, it went all the way up to this family's home. The Hodges family has lived here for over 100 years, and now the inside, utterly devastated. In Kerrville, floods are a part of life. So in the early hours of Friday morning, Austin Donahue thought it was just business as usual.
Heard the water, not uncommon being on the river, and went and ate a piece of pie and drank coffee.
But it didn't take long for that pie to turn to panic.
I knew it was something abnormal when I saw at the level it was at, a house roof come by and a car.
Never have I ever seen it this bad. Nothing transpired, nothing ever occurred to where it was a wall of water as the magnitude as it was.
And in the panic of trying to leave the house, Travis's mom slipped and fell and broke her shoulder. She had surgery Monday morning.
And I didn't think it would ever happen to us, but of course you never know. Yeah, it's just devastation.
The aftermath is just that, devastation. The antiques, the family heirlooms, the house that this family has made a home over the past 100 years, destroyed in a matter of moments.
Just having to go into your house and, you know, see, walk on things you love and hearing them break, not being able to see anything, and just, it's just total loss as to what the problem is, and, you know, it's a shock at the time.
But in the face of tragedy, community always shows up to fight. Volunteers from the family's church brought food, water, and helped clean up the devastation that the floods left behind.
It means the world to me. It touches my heart. Just when people come together, it's amazing. I feel the Lord coming through everybody, everything that's happening.
Now, even while my photographer Colton and I were here today, we were offered a plate of food. And it's those types of acts of kindness that give hope to a community despite so much devastation. Reporting in Kerrville, I'm Matt Roy.
CBS Austin has been covering this story all weekend long from the start. We'll continue to bring you the latest details as we learn them. If you want to read more, especially on how to get involved and maybe even donate, you can find that information online at cbsaustin.com. And stay with us. We'll have more coverage in just a few minutes. Country singer, songwriter Rich O'Toole and friends are holding a benefit show to raise money for the Kerr County Flood Relief Fund. There's going to be a lot of these happening as the community really comes together. This is one of the first ones we're hearing about, and if you can show up and help, any dollar will help. It's happening at the Saloon on Main Street in Fredericksburg tomorrow at 7 p.m. Go out to Fredericksburg, grab some lunch, dinner, check out the show, and donate. In a post on X, O'Toole called on all Hill Country songwriters to swing by and play a song or two. This is a free event, but the bar will be taking donations all night long for flood relief. And those looking to help families and victims of the devastating floods across Central Texas can get plugged in and get involved. Officials say to contact the American Red Cross of Central and South Texas at redcross.com or .org, or 1-800-RED-CROSS. You can also visit the Central Texas Food Bank and the Austin Disaster Relief Network's websites. Coming up on CBS Austin News at 6:30, we continue our coverage on the historic Texas flooding. We'll have live team coverage taking us through the search and rescue efforts all across Central Texas. The historic Texas floods set to be the topic of discussion during the upcoming special session.
Emergency notification systems are critical. and the management of them is critical.
What this could mean for new legislation.
We continue with a flood watch for the potential of more heavy rain. I'll let you know what to expect.
Recovery efforts begin after devastating floods sweep through central Texas.
It's just devastating. I mean, I think just, as Texans stick together and, hopefully we come through this.
What officials in Burnet say are the next steps. The death toll from the catastrophic flooding that swept through central Texas continues to climb tonight. At least 104 people now are confirmed dead and many more still missing. CBS Austin is continuing to show you the devastation and rescue and recovery missions as they continue across central Texas tonight. We have live team coverage with reporters all across the region, including a look at the deadly floods in Burnet and Williamson counties. We will also look into how local emergency alert systems could be a topic of discussion now during the upcoming special session. We begin right here in the studio, though, with CBS Austin Chief Meteorologist Chicago Windler. These people need a break, Chicago. Any warnings in place right now? Are we going to get a break from this flooding?
I actually am encouraged that we're seeing a diminishing trend. So, Walt, right now there's one warning. That warning is from Milam County. It is a flash flood warning. However, the heavy rain is starting to diminish, and I think that the flood warning has actually been let go. It was originally supposed to be in effect until 7 p.m., but now it appears that the National Weather Service said, you know what, the worst is over. We're going to go ahead and pull the plug on that warning. So terrific news. We do not have any flash flood warnings currently in effect. And overall, there's not a lot of rain falling at this hour. There earlier in Milam County between Rockdale and up toward Cameron, good swath of between 1 and 2.5 inches of rain. So that's encouraging news. Also, the flood watch, which is in effect until 7 p.m., I've heard no chatter about having it extended. I believe that it will be allowed to expire at 7 o'clock. We've also seen improvement in terms of the number of road closures, down from 122 an hour ago to 106. Obviously, still a lot of high water out there, but also seeing improvement on the rivers where the Llano River appears to have had its secondary crest. It is now receding. I do have more rain in the forecast, though. I'll track it for you coming up.
Thanks, Chicago. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says what happened in Kerrville will be a topic of discussion during the upcoming special legislative session. This includes potential legislation to approve funding for local emergency alert systems that could have saved lives. CBS Austin Jamal Kennedy is live for us outside the state capitol tonight after speaking with a local official about these systems. Jamal, what are they saying?
Yeah, well, CapCog's Homeland Security Director, Martin Ritchie, told me that these systems are hugely important to local governments. He even gave me a demonstration on how CapCog works their system to get alerts out to people in times where they desperately need them.
I'll show you some of the emergency messages that went out.
Capitol Area Council of Government Homeland Security Director Martin Ritchie shares a tutorial of the organization's emergency alert system. Over the weekend, more than 20 flood-related warnings were sent to people across 10 counties within CapCog's Warren Central Texas alert system. Ultimately, how critical are they?
Emergency notification systems are critical, and the management of them is critical.
After a weekend where more than a dozen people across Travis, William, and Burnet counties died in flash flooding, Ritchie is emphasizing the importance of local emergency alert systems.
All disasters begin and end locally.
During a press conference Sunday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott answered questions about the emergency alerts and warnings being sent in Kerr County. He was asked if everything that could be was done to warn people about the flood-related storms.
The way to respond to like what happened in Kerrville is going to be a topic for the special session to address.
During the recent session, state lawmakers failed to pass legislation that would have bolstered emergency alert systems across the state. It's prompted Texas Senator Paul Betancourt to post on social media Monday that he intends to file legislation during the upcoming special session to bring back civil defense sirens targeted for flash flood-prone river valleys to strengthen flash flood emergency alerts. CapCog already has a local alert system which currently serves 10 surrounding counties from Travis to Llano down to Caldwell counties.
Who knows better where flash flooding occurs in their community than the local community and those that are managing those processes?
Now, the special session is scheduled to get underway on July 21st. If you live in Travis County or any of the surrounding counties within CapCog's area and you want to sign up for those alerts, we've included a way to how to do so on our website, cbsaustin.com. For now, reporting live outside the Texas Capitol, Jamal Kennedy, CBS Austin News.
Thank you, Jamal. In Williamson County, search efforts are continuing for a victim of this weekend's flooding. 2 people missing since Saturday have been found, but a third is still unaccounted for. CBS Austin's Betty Cross is live in Williamson County for us now. Betty, what are you hearing about the nightmare situation at Hope House in Liberty Hill? And that tractor behind you says so many things about the power of this flooding.
It certainly does. The force of the water certainly to be able to knock it over. And I'm not sure exactly where it started, but this is where it ended up. Now, you talked about Hope House. Hope House in Liberty Hill, well, it provides care for kids with profound disabilities. And early Saturday morning, those kids had to be rescued because of the rising floodwaters. Now, the good news here is all of those kids, they made it out safely. But Sherry Richardson was inside a 2-story cabin that sits on the banks of Little Creek in Liberty Hill. She called 911 for help, but the creek was rising too fast and no one was able to get to her in time.
She said that, hey, the sheriff's calling me back, and she clicked over, and we checked on her 15 minutes later, and with no response. Her cabin was just swept away by the floodwaters.
The raging waters on Saturday morning took out a stream flow gauge on the San Gabriel River, uprooted countless trees, ripped up roads, and damaged bridges. Williamson County has started assessing damage to try to get a federal disaster declaration that would help pay for repairs. Now, at Hope House, they are certainly mourning the loss of Sherry Richardson. They say she was the heart and soul of that nonprofit organization, and they're going to dearly miss her. Reporting live in Williamson County, Betty Cross, CBS Austin News.
Thank you, Betty. CBS Austin News has been covering this story since it broke on Friday and will continue to bring you all of the latest details as we get them. If you want to read more about all of what happened starting in the morning of July 4th, you can find that information online at cbsaustin.com. 2 Austin rescues helping animals during devastating flooding. The number of animals taken in so far and how you can help. Austin Wildlife Rescue is seeking donations after taking in approximately 70 animals over the past couple of days due to the devastating floods that swept through central Texas. Yesterday, the rescue received about 50 animals and an additional 20 this morning. You can find the rescue's Amazon wish list for donations on cbsaustin.com. Austin Pets Alive has taken in 250 animals since the flooding started on Friday. The nonprofit says it's been working closely with Kerrville Pets Alive, Williamson County Regional Animal Shelter, and Hill Country Humane Society to take their animals that were there before the floods. Now, this allows those shelters to keep space open to animals being found now in the rescue efforts in the floods.
This is just an effort so they can have space and they can have the time and resources to devote to reuniting families. People have really stepped up for their pets and their people of their communities, and it's really shown. And the work that we do isn't possible without the community being involved.
APA says it's in need of fosters and adopters, along with volunteers for at least the next week or so. Another flash flood warning issued this morning for Llano County. How residents are responding to the ongoing threats. The stormy weather continued in parts of central Texas this morning, prompting more warnings for potential flooding. CBS Austin's Emily Miranda hears from people living in Llano County after another flash flood warning was issued.
We've seen water levels in the Llano River rise and fall throughout the day. Now, if we take a walk over here, you can't tell right now, but residents tell me this is a walking and biking path that is now flooded by water from the river. 3 days after the Llano River flooded on July 4th.
It was just really full of trees and boats and docks and all sorts of debris, all the way up, way higher than this.
Another flash flood warning was issued for Llano County early Monday morning.
One thing about it, if you live in the hill country, it comes rain like this, you're going to get flooded. So it's something we have to live with.
Some people we spoke with say the past few days have been a grave reminder of past Llano River floods.
I don't want to start crying. It was pitiful. And I thought about the things that happened during the 2018 flood when the back of the pavilion was taken out.
Others say today has been very different than this weekend.
It's cleared up. It's much calmer. But even this, this is still very high for us.
With a possibility of additional flooding, some people say they're more concerned for other communities along the river.
We always know when it's coming, and so you hear about it in Junction or Mason or, somewhere south of here. And so we have time to pull up LCRA and check the flow status and just be ready.
With the possibility for more rain, officials are asking people to stay away from waterways like the Llano that have the potential for more flooding. Reporting in Llano, Emily Miranda, CBS Austin News.
Now, your storm tracker weather with Chief Meteorologist Chickagay Windler.
I actually have a really good update for the Llano River. You know why? Because it appears that secondary crest has already occurred just below flood stage. Here we go. Flood stage is 10 feet. Right now it's at 8.27 feet. About a couple hours ago, it peaked at 9.32 feet, which was below the forecast estimate. It was expected to make it into minor flood again. Obviously, the Llano River is still rushing. It is still very high, but it did not create additional issues today, despite the fact that we had some heavier rain upstream. Now, this is all going to flow down toward the Kingsland Slab, which is still covered with water, as it usually is during these flood events. And we will still see some of these inflows working their way into Lake Travis, which is now up to 66% full. 657.6 is the current elevation. Get this, we have not seen the lake that high since 2022. Lake Buchanan now up to 79%. On the 3rd of July, it was at 60. It is now up to 79%. And look at this, the combined storage is up to 72%. Now, we are going to still see these both bump up a little bit, but I don't think we're going to get it up to 100%. That will likely take some more minor flood events. We got to keep the rain going, unfortunately. So hopefully we can dry out, people can recover, and then maybe Mother Nature will just give us less rain, but at nice doses to keep the lakes healthy. It's been a horrible price, though. I think a lot of people agree they'd rather have empty lakes and healthy people, right? Right now we're at 88 degrees. Heat index of 94. Radar looking good. That flash flood warning that had been in effect for Milam County, they pulled the plug on it early because the rain diminished. Still 1 to 2 inches of rain did fall there. We had some heavier rain out in eastern sections of Lee County and Fayette County as well. But the areas that needed to dry out were able to dry out through Kerr County. Much of Mason County, there were some heavier rain showers and storms off toward the west, though. Now, as we continue through the rest of the evening, I just checked the latest high-res computer models. I am pleased to say they're quiet. We probably will be relatively dry through the night. Tomorrow, there could be some more showers and storms that develop mainly from the coast heading inland. You know, those sea breeze varieties during the afternoon to evening, making it up to about I-35, meaning the hill country should be generally dry tomorrow. Wednesday, a 1 in 3 chance of rain. Thursday and Friday looking mainly dry, and then lower rain chances into the weekend.
Communities still reeling after devastating floods sweep through central Texas. We'll have a live report from CBS Austin's Vinny Martirano in just a few minutes. The city of Burnet is starting to clean up what's left of homes and businesses after massive floodwaters washed through that area as well. CBS Austin's Vinny Martirano is live for us in Burnet tonight. Vinny, what are officials saying about the next steps to get the city back on track? You know, there was so much devastation scattered throughout the county. Where do you begin?
Yeah, right, and that's the big question, Walt, is what are the next steps? But Burnet County Emergency Management says those next steps are damage assessment. Their goal is to rebuild as much as they can across the county as efficiently as possible. Now, the city and the county are putting teams together to assess all of that damage that was caused by the floods over the weekend. They'll then bring in other city partners to address any roads, bridges, or other infrastructure damaged over the weekend as well. Derek Macchio with Burnet County Emergency Management says they're also looking at revamping some hotspot areas that have been damaged by previous floods across the county.
As we move forward and actually get these places completely recovered, we'll be, like I said, we will be making sure we're coming back into a better situation than we went into.
Macchio says they're also starting to assess some agricultural damage, including livestock. Now, moving forward, officials say they'll be looking into how to improve rebuilding infrastructure that gets damaged or that is already damaged. They're going to be looking into how they can rebuild this so they can prepare better for the future rather than waiting for these disasters to hit and rely on some financial opportunities that would come after the fact. Reporting live here in Burnet, Vinny Martirano, CBS Austin News.
Thank you, Vinny. After the break, a recap of today's top stories. Central Texas on the road to somewhat of a recovery after the deadly floods devastated our region. In case you missed it, is next.
Texas is grieving. The pain, the shock of what has transpired these last few days has broken the heart of our state.
At least 104 people have died in this catastrophic flash flooding.
With entire homes being swept off of foundations, bridges being damaged, and cars left stuck in trees. Neighbors we spoke to nearly lost everything, but say they're thankful to be alive.
Again, if you need to find out the latest on the Texas floods, go to cbsaustin.com and make sure you track it with meteorologist Chicago Windler. Are we getting a little bit of a break?
We are. The flood warnings, the flash flood watch have all been allowed to expire.
Good news for this region as we start to rebuild. Your prayers are needed. We'll see you back here at 10.